Israel has activated its stooges in Europe to start bullying Iran with an intention to force the Islamic Republic to give Israeli spies, commonly known as IAEA inspectors, access to its nuclear sites. The representatives from the UK, France, and Germany just concluded speaking at the United Nations, where they announced their decision to trigger the snapback mechanism. Simply put, this means that Iran now has 30 days to avert the resumption of sanctions that existed before 2015. As I said in one of my earlier videos, Iran was pretty reckless and stupid in agreeing to the terms and conditions of JCPOA agreement by giving its approval to the snapback mechanism. It's such a one-sided clause that even Russia and China cannot veto despite being permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Now, Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi has warned the E3 countries, namely the UK, France and Germany, of consequences. But does it really matter? Let's look at these developments in detail. 3 permanent representatives from the UK, France and Germany just released a joint statement at the United Nations outlining their plans to reimpose pre-2015 era sanctions on Iran if Iran did not capitulate to their bullying. Speaking on the occasion, the British representative at the UN, Barbara Woodward, demanded that Iran give IAEA inspectors access to all its nuclear sites. She also accused Iran of being in violation of international law and even the NPT by not being transparent to the world about its nuclear program. Let's listen to her statement first.
Yesterday, in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 2231, the foreign ministers of France, Germany, and my own country, the United Kingdom, notified the Security Council that we believe Iran to be in significant non-performance of its commitments under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Since 2019, Iran has increasingly and deliberately ceased performing almost all of its JCPOA commitments. This includes the accumulation of high enriched uranium stockpile, which lacks any credible civilian justification. In fact, according to the IAEA, Iran is the only country without nuclear weapons producing high enriched uranium. Iran has stopped providing IAEA access agreed under the JCPOA. Moreover, it has recently significantly reduced the access to nuclear material and sites it is obliged to provide under the NPT. Despite this, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom are making every effort to resolve this diplomatically. Most recently, we offered Iran an extension to SnapBack should Iran take specific steps to address our most immediate concerns. Our asks were fair and realistic. Iran's resumption of negotiations on a comprehensive agreement, Iran's compliance with its IAEA obligations, and steps to address our concerns regarding the high enriched uranium stockpile. However, as of today, Iran has shown no indication that it is serious about meeting them. It is not implementing its obligations to cooperate with the International Atomic Energy Agency. It has not re-engaged in negotiations with the United States with a view to reaching an acceptable diplomatic resolution. Our notification to the Security Council has now triggered a 30-day period. It does not mark the end of diplomacy. Our extension offer remains on the table. We hope Iran will take the necessary steps to address the international community's serious concerns over its nuclear program. We urge Iran to reconsider this position, to reach an agreement based on our offer, and to help create the space for a diplomatic solution to this issue for the long term. Otherwise, targeted UN sanctions focused on tackling Iranian nuclear proliferation return at the end of this 30-day period. We remain determined that Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon. While we have been left with no choice but to take this course of action, we remain committed to diplomacy and to the peaceful resolution of threats to global peace and security. There remains a clear diplomatic pathway forward, should Iran choose to take it. Thank you.
Now, can someone ask this woman why she never bothered to issue any condemnation when Israel and the US launched an illegal war on Iran in June? Why was she silent when both Israel and the US dropped bombs on Iranian nuclear sites in violation of the international law? And where is the question of giving IAEA access to nuclear sites when both Israel and the US have already confirmed that they had totally and completely obliterated Iran's nuclear program?
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
What would IAEA spies monitor now when all nuclear sites have been totally and completely obliterated? Also, how about asking Israel some tough questions about its refusal to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or the NPT? Iran has always been a part of the NPT, even though many believe that Tehran should walk out of the treaty after what the rogue regimes of Israel and the US did in June this year. As expected, Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi hit back at the E3 countries. He said, and I quote, "The actions of the European Troika effectively reward the offender and punish the victim. It was the United States, not Iran, that unilaterally withdrew from the JCPOA in 2018 and reimposed sanctions. It was Europe, not Iran, that failed to fulfill its commitments to mitigate the economic impact of the US withdrawal. It was also Europe, not Iran, that not only failed to implement the commitments on Transition Day, which was October 2023, but also imposed new illegal sanctions on Iranian civil aviation and shipping. As I have made abundantly clear, the E3's decision will have significant adverse impacts on diplomacy. It will severely undermine the ongoing dialogue between Iran and the IAEA. It will also compel an appropriate response. The path chosen by Europe, if not curbed, will additionally have severe consequences for the credibility of the UN Security Council. Invoking the so-called SnapBack mechanism without due process or a legal basis not only undermines confidence in the Council's decisions but also endangers international peace and security. It is high time for the Council and the world to step up and say, enough. End quote. Also, have these three Israeli stooges reacted to the US thug Marco Rubio announcing to deny access to Palestinian diplomats at the UN? This effectively makes the whole concept of the UN defunct. Under the law, the US cannot deny any member countries or observer nation access to the UN just because the UN is based on its soil. This should be good enough reason for the UN to disband itself or relocate to some other countries. Just because the current regime has a number of petty thugs, racist and genocidal maniacs as its members doesn't mean that they should be allowed to dictate their terms on countries around the world. When would the international fraternity rise against the thuggery of the US and its partners in crime in Europe? That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.